The NBA play-in tournament. Is this a plan to get Zion Williamson and the Pelicans into the playoffs? NBA reporters Tom Haberstraw and Brian Windhorst, they believe that allowing Zion and the Pelicans to be a part of the NBA play-in tournament, that's going to bring much higher TV ratings. You know what? I kind of agree. I say let them play. Let Zion and the young high-flying Pelicans, let them dance in Disney World. Let's get it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome back to Journey of a Ballaholic, the best talk show for basketball addicts. I'm your host, General Hannibal X. Now, if you're new on this channel, you're going to be getting my passionate and unfiltered opinion on the hottest NBA and college basketball topics. Listen, I'm a ballaholic. Now, if you're missing the NBA like I am, go ahead and make sure you hit that like button. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel, but make sure that you tap that notification bell so that you'll be updated whenever I drop new videos, which is going to be every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, before we get this video started, as always, go down to the comment section for the comment of the day. Let me know, if the NBA was to do a play-in tournament and they included teams like the Kings, the Trailblazers, the Spurs, the Pelicans, which of these teams do you think would actually win the play-in tournament? Okay, so we're about 2 months away from the NBA kicking things off in Orlando, Florida, as Bleacher Report just posted that the NBA is shooting for a July 31st start date to resume play. Now, I know it seems like every other day you're getting conflicting news about different ideas that the NBA and the Players Association and just all these different personnel are talking about how to resume play. So the NBA just did a recent survey that Shams Charania reported on, where all 30 GMs were able to give their opinion on different subjects. 60% of those GMs decided that they wanted to go ahead and have a 72-game season. Now, that makes sense if you think about it, because there's a 70-game threshold that the NBA needs for a lot of those TV deals to honor those contracts. Now, 83% of the GMs that were voted or that were polled, they voted in favor of having a playoff plus strategy with at least 20 teams. Love that idea. Then there was also a report of 75% of the GMs voting for the play-in style tournament versus the World Cup like stage group play, which I hated that idea. So I'm glad the majority of the owners and GMs decided they would rather go with the play-in tournament versus some type of World Cup play. Now, what's interesting about the 20 teams that was discussed is that once you put out the top 16 teams, right, those teams that would traditionally make the playoffs, then if you add the remaining 4 teams that will most likely, that's going to be the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th seeded teams out of the Western Conference. That includes the current 9th seeded Portland Trailblazers, the 10th seeded New Orleans Pelicans, 11th seeded Sacramento Kings, as well as the 12th seeded San Antonio Spurs. But let's be honest here. If the NBA does go with this play-in style tournament where they have, let's say, 20 teams, it's kind of been discussion of maybe 22 teams, but I think they said a minimum of 20 teams. If they do a minimum of 20 teams, and those 4 additional teams that we talked about in the West are those teams that join the play-in style tournament, who really cares if the underachieving San Antonio Spurs make the playoffs? I mean, let's just keep it real. Listen, Pop is one of the best, if not the best coach in the NBA, bar none. But I think this summer, the FIFA games and the way that the Spurs played during the season, it showed that either Pop has either lost a step or the players, they're just not receptive to his coaching style anymore. He's just too good of a coach to have the talent that he's had on the summer team, despite the injuries, as well as his Spurs team, and for them to be as bad as they were. But then you got teams like the Kings. What about the Kings or even the Trailblazers? Listen, I get it. Those teams have some legit talent. Okay, they got some really good players. I'm not knocking that. Portland, they got Dame Lillard, and he's a bona fide superstar. I mean, last year we saw his team was the 3rd seed in the West, a tough Western Conference, and he led them to the Western Conference Finals. Now, the other day, Dame made it very clear. He said, listen, if his team has no legit shot at making the playoffs, then he isn't even going to play again this season. And listen, I understand where it's coming from. I got to admit, though, I think it is kind of a selfish statement. See, this is how I look at it. Basically, what he's saying is that he's willing to travel with the team. He's willing to sit on the bench with the team. But basically, you're telling your teammates that you would rather sit on the bench and have them play because you're too good to be on the court playing with them when the games don't mean anything. I don't know about that message. Not sure that was the right way to word it, even if he was being as honest as he was. But once again, I get it. Dame is basically saying, listen, I'm a bona fide superstar. And not only that, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of hard work for these NBA players to get back in NBA game shape so that when they do get on the court, they don't risk major injury that could come from just playing a couple of meaningless games. So I get that, but it's a tough choice that has to be made. And once again, he is a superstar with a lot of money riding on the health of his body. But then you also have those young teams like the Sacramento Kings. Now this right here, they're a very young, scrappy team. They got a lot of solid talent. But once again, I mean, outside of the fans of Sacramento, who really cares if we see them come back? I mean, who's really dying and clamoring to see the Sacramento Kings get back on the court? Then that leaves you with the Pelicans. Now, this is the one team that I think is filled with not only young talent, but it also has an all-star forward in Brandon Ingram, a polarizing young guard in Lonzo Ball, and a legit vet when you look at guys like Drew Holiday, even sharpshooter like J.J. Redick. But most importantly, they've got a budding superstar that fans all over the world want to see get back on the court. That's Zion Williamson. He's the key to all of this. Now, if you missed any of my previous videos, then let me summarize it for you here. Zion he's not just a star. He isn't just a name or just a talent. Zion is a generational superstar. He came into the NBA with probably more hype than any other player not named LeBron James. And like LeBron, Zion thus far, he's not only lived up to the hype, he's exceeded the hype. Listen, I get it. He only played 19 games, a very small sample size. But in those 19 games, they were probably some of the most exciting, high-flying 19 games we've seen all season long. Through 19 games, Zion averaged 23.6 points, 6.8 rebounds, 2.2 assists on 58.9% field goal percentage. Like, he was scorching hot. Only 3 of his 19 games did he score under 20 points, with the season-low scoring output of just 14 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But he also had 3 of those 19 games scoring over 30 points, and his season high was 35 points against the best in the West, the LeBron-led Lakers. Now, scoring is nice, we get that, and all that he does, the dunks, everything like that was impressive. But what was most impressive was that during that 19 games that Zion played, the Pelicans, they had a winning record of 10-19 during those games. That means that Zion, he's not just dunking the ball. He's not just out there scoring a bunch of points. Zion is leading to wins, and that's what matters most. So, is there any truth that the reports could be that the NBA truly wants the season to include Zion at all costs, even if that means that all 30 teams are not allowed to travel to Orlando? I could definitely believe that. Listen, he's must-see TV. He's one of the few guys that you'll get league pass just to see the Pelicans play so that you don't miss any one of his games. Now just imagine a scenario like this. Imagine where you got the Pelicans, the Kings, the Trailblazers, and the Spurs are set up in a play-in tournament. Let's say that the winner of those 4 teams goes on to play the 8th seeded Grizzlies for the final spot. I don't know how they're going to do it, but let's just imagine it for a second. Out of those 5 teams, who would you rather see the Lakers play in the first round if the NBA does decide to keep the traditional East Coast, West Coast format? Think about that. LeBron versus Zion, the young Pelicans in Ingram, Lonzo, Josh Hart, those guys that were traded away to get a superstar like Anthony Davis. The storylines aside, that would be some absolute amazing basketball. Listen, I like Ja Morant. I honestly do. I think he's going to be the rookie of the year, hands down. I think Zion could have caught him if it had been the 4 remaining games of the season. But nonetheless, Ja earned it. He's going to get that. But nobody wants to see Ja Morant get swept by the Lakers in round 1. No one wants to see a washed-up Spurs or even the young Sacramento Kings get destroyed by the Lakers either. That's just no competition in those games. The 2 toughest matchups that the Lakers would be able to see would be the Portland Trailblazers and the New Orleans Pelicans. Why is that? It's simple. They each have bona fide superstars that fans want to see on the big stage. Look, I don't care how you slice it. The NBA, as we knew it, that's not what we're dealing with right now. We already have to deal with watching NBA games that will have no fans in the crowd at all. You're talking about some of the best, the brightest, the toughest superstars running up and down the court, giving it all, trying to muster energy out of nowhere. A lot of times these guys, they get the energy from the fans. That's why practices and preseason are different from regular season, which is even different from the playoffs and the finals because the level of intensity picks up. The fans are more into it. Well, when you don't have the fans in the stands, that's one thing. So you got to give the fans the best product that they can have while they're sitting at home on the couch watching and rooting for their best teams. I don't know about you, but I want to see Zion Williamson and that young Pelicans team get a shot. Now, it seems like that may be the case because if the owners and the GMs get their way based on what these latest reports are going to be, you're looking at potentially a 72-game regular season or leading up to 72 games based on however many games you played, and then some type of play-in style tournament which will give even the teams that don't qualify for the playoffs based on their regular season record to get one last chance to make that 16-team tournament. Now, I hope they will still lean toward reseeding it 1 through 16, but there are reports that I think majority of the GMs want to keep the traditional East Coast, West Coast format. Not as fun, but listen, if they give us a play-in style tournament and we can get 1 or 2 more games of Zion, I'm all for it. So let me know in the comment section below. If you had to choose between the Spurs, the Kings, the Pelicans, and the Trailblazers, which of those teams do you think would actually make the tournament or will win in a play-in style tournament? Now, before you leave, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe by clicking the Journey of a Ballaholic button right there. Also, make sure that you click this box right here if you haven't seen my top 25 NBA players of all time. Listen, until next time, make sure that you stay safe out in the streets. And until then, peace.